Hey, how you doing? It's us, Valerie and Alicia, Mom, Nana, Auntie, Grandma, whatever. And we're here with today's Legacy of Love and Laughter, and we're going to talk about
Food.
food, because we love food. You know, back in the day, I made a cookbook for the family, and it was because I was afraid we were going to lose those family recipes. And on the back, I put our family motto is, if you feed them, they would know. What? I forgot what it was. It was about if people show up, give them food. That's basically what we were like, right?
Yes.
Where two or more gathered, serve food. That's what we do. Our family was always like that. I don't know if it's being European or, because not all families
Being
do
hungry
that.
all the time for no reason. Everything tastes good.
Everything tastes good, but things sure were different when we were kids. First of all, when Valerie was born, we were just coming out of World War II. So tell everybody about some of the things about food then and what restrictions or what might have been had.
I don't remember that much. I'm sure I was a baby for a lot of it. And having to have ration stuff, they were still doing that when I was really young. I don't remember that. But we do have, and I'll have to bring sometime, an empty ration book for the period of time when I was very little. And that's scary when you think about what's going on now.
Yeah, people complain a lot about, prices and everything, but there are things on the shelf, and in all honesty, they really are affordable. Maybe you can't get the real expensive stuff you used to get, but it is affordable. And all you have to do is really learn how to cook more easily, and one of those ways is without processed foods. Well, back when Val was talking about rationing during World War II, you couldn't get sugar, you couldn't get butter. There were a lot of basic things that were, you just couldn't get them, and they called it standing with the war effort. Now, if you want to have a really eye-opening experience, I suggest you go to YouTube and look up the Supersizer's Goal.
I've never heard of that.
She's making a little noise down there. I'm like, what the hell are
My
you
feet were
doing?
dangling, and it was very
Oh.
uncomfortable. So
My feet aren't long enough to dangle. Anyway, it goes through different eras and the food things that they experience, and food rationing is in there. That was from an English perspective because it's England people.
When they had victory gardens and stuff like that, everybody was out there trying to grow their own food to supplement what they could afford to get in the store.
Now that you mention it, we had victory gardens here too.
Yeah.
There was even a TV show called The Victory Garden. And so when people are griping right now about food and prices and everything, there are ways we can garden, even in containers. I didn't get much of the green thumb thing, but
I did good. I froze things. I canned things. I did everything. Not when I was a kid, though. Mom
Right.
wasn't too big on that. She would do pickles. She liked doing pickles. But that was about the extent of her canning adventure.
well, there was those canned tomatoes that she made with the fireplace Daddy made on the back terrace.
Oh,
right? Yeah, there was
yeah, that was an adventure.
And every fall, she'd go to Grammy, her mother-in-law, our Grammy Parda, and make chili sauce.
Oh, God,
That
that
is-
chili sauce.
Yeah. She had a crank. I wish I had one to show you. Maybe I'll bet she still got one because she saves
I
stuff.
have one.
Yep, she does. Maybe next time we do food, we'll show it to you. But it was a thing you hook up to your counter, and you put the food in, and you turn the crank. And they would, let's see, what did that chili have in it? It had onions, tomatoes,
Yeah.
peppers, cinnamon, I think. Was cinnamon in there?
I don't remember. I wasn't
Mustard
crazy about the
seeds.
chili sauce.
But Mom loved it, and she made it, and we
You
ate
got it for dinner, whether you loved it or whether you didn't.
Yeah, and Mom would go on one of her diet kicks, and she would have cottage cheese with chili sauce on it. That
Having
would be
chili
her
sauce.
dinner. She did. She liked it a lot. But you know what? After all these years, I can't tell you how long it's been since I ever tasted that, but I can still taste
Taste it. So can I.
It had to be like 40 years at the very least since I had any.
Maybe I'd like it now if I really got to
Maybe,
taste it.
maybe you ought to make a batch.
No.
You still got the cranker. I mean, we could crank it out. We could literally crank it out.
Yeah.
Hey, for our children and their children, beware, there may be a jar of chili sauce coming your way
One never knows.
one day soon. Yeah. Well, so when we got past the ration books and everything, then it was more like back to normal cooking. And one thing we did not have was fast food. There were restaurants and there were luncheonettes.
Yeah.
But the drive-through was unheard of until McDonald's.
Yeah.
And that wasn't until the 60s. So, tell everyone your memory of going out to dinner.
Out to dinner. Out to dinner for a special occasion, like one's birthday, on my 10th birthday or something like that. They decided we were going to go out to dinner. Going out to dinner meant we were going to Howard Johnson's. That was out to dinner. And you invite a friend. Well, Mom decided it was time for me to invite a boyfriend. I was not dating anybody.
Boy friend.
Boy acquaintance, whatever you want it was. No boyfriend thing. I didn't even like boys. But Mom thought that was a cool thing to do, have your daughter's first date or whatever she wanted to call it. And we went to Howard Johnson's.
And Howard Johnson's with your parents. Oh, but that was one heck of a date.
I didn't even like the kid. I didn't sit next to him. I made sure somebody was sitting between us. Because I was used to playing, Red Rover and stuff like that with these guys. I certainly wasn't used to having dressed up with a dress on for dinner at Howard Johnson's.
With your parents.
With my parents.
They used to call Howard Johnson's the tin roof. It used to have an orange wavy roof. And they had 38 flavors of ice cream, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't remember that too much. I don't think she wanted me to be added to their date. What can I say?
One daughter at a time,
Yeah. I think they still were kind of embarrassed by me because you never know what would come out of my mouth. So, because there was no fast food, everything was made from scratch. But I got to tell you something. Do you think cooking was that hard?
No, I didn't have to do any. So I didn't think it was hard at all. Until we had to peel potatoes for potato pancakes and grate them.
That was the deal. You want the potato pancakes, you peel them and grate them, and
That's right.
she or Daddy would cook them. But everything it was much simpler, and because the food was so much simpler, it was more wholesome.
Yeah, we didn't appreciate it. We didn't appreciate it. They didn't. It's not that you couldn't have sugar and things. You had plenty of sugar, or plenty of butter, all that stuff. But it was the amount. I mean, people didn't eat anywhere near what they eat now.
Especially no chemicals.
And I mean, there was very little issue with weight. I mean, it was rare when somebody was fat, because you were outside playing, running around, including your parents. Your parents did things outside. They would play cards and stuff with their friends in an evening, but basically everybody was raking the lawn and burning the leaves, which you can't do anymore.
And planting their garden.
Planting their garden and doing all that stuff. So you stayed trim, because you only planted good stuff. And once you plant it and it grows, you got to eat it,
By the way, if any of you guys have small kids, one of the best ways to get the kids to eat vegetables and stuff like that is to grow them.
Let them help.
Yeah, that's it. They got to help grow them, because when they grew it, they're kind of more interested in tasting it. So I keep skipping ahead to when we were young moms. I'm trying to pull the reins back to when we were kids, so it's really hard.
She loved peas and beans and stuff.
I love peas, but none of them kidney beans.
Kidney beans were not a favorite.
None of them
they didn't come out of the
kidney
garden,
beans.
They came out of a can.
That's true. And when we went to, it's always, if you can say to your mother, I don't like that, she'll tell you to eat it anyway, but, which is another way a lot of kids today are spoiled. They just don't eat enough stuff because it's not presented and really encouraged to try it. My kids never, I'm back to my time again, gotta back up. So, we went to my Uncle Andy and Aunt Mary's. She likes this story because it embarrasses me, but I'm gonna get her back. Do you want to tell the story? I'll tell the story. I'll make you tell your story. So, my Aunt Mary she had hot dogs and beans. Now, if they were baked beans, it'd be one thing. But they were kidney beans. In that
Breaded kidney.
slimy red sauce. Like, it's not sauce, it's juice. It's whatever. Canned stuff. And, oh God, I didn't want to eat them, and I didn't want to tell my Aunt Mary no, and I didn't want to make a scene, so I just very quietly slipped the beans into my pocket of my pants.
I was sitting right next to her. I never saw a thing.
I can be slick, let me tell you. And after I managed to eat the beans, I said, oh, I have to go to the bathroom, and I emptied the bean pockets into the toilet and flushed it.
Nobody knew. Nobody suspected.
Nobody
Not even
knew.
me, and I was right next to her.
She's kind of easy to fool. Just saying. So, okay, I did my embarrassing story. Now you do yours.
She threatened me with, "Don't ever tell anybody." When she finally told me, I couldn't get anything out of her. But she said, "I did something," and she said, "I put the beans in my pocket and then I flushed them and stuff like that." Well, I totally must have cracked up, but I kept the secret
The heck you did.
until we were adults. When we were adults, one day, how many? 30 years later, maybe. We're talking about it, and I brought the story out when we were with some friends. I thought she was going to kill me.
No.
You've got to admit, it's a funny story.
That's
It's very clever.
All right, speaking of funny stories,
I don't know what
did Daddy and Mom make that you just love part of it?
Yeah. Mom and Dad would make steamers when they had company and steamers were in season and stuff, and they would make a huge pot of steamers. Mom didn't eat any seafood of any kind. And we never had it at home. She just didn't cook it either. But she made steamers, and when you make steamers, you make a nice little crock full of melted butter. And you just dip that baby in the melted butter and just... You swallow the clam, but you got all this wonderful butter in the
You had the two dishes. One was broth. You'd
To rinse
wash it off,
yeah.
and then the butter.
And the butter.
I never touched them.
So I must have eaten 8 of them, which for a young kid, that's a lot of clams and an awful lot of butter.
And then after everyone went home,
We had a little episode with throwing up clams and butter.
after she drank some of the butter out of the cups.
Forgot about that part, to tell you the truth. Isn't that funny?
Some things you just never forget, you know? So,
It's like a little revenge thing.
right. Now, another eating out thing for us, big deal for us, we had something that very few people have today, and that was called a drive-in movie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we love to go to the drive-in movie. And again, there was no processed foods as we know them. So Mom and Dad would make a big bag of popcorn. And in the way of our mother, she would put butter all over it. We'd put it in a paper grocery bag, and the bottom would be all oily with the butter. That
Boy, was it good.
I remember
It
putting
was
it
really good.
shaking it up and go to the movies. Then if we were really, really lucky, we would get to go get some food from the concession. Yep, remember that?
Real garbage food, really.
Yeah, like potato sticks.
Nonpareils.
Nonpareils, I love nonpareils, little hard, crunchy things that get in between your teeth, and I love those suckers. But the potato sticks, and they give them to you in this little wooden boat. Honest, I don't know how they did that. These little wooden boat with staples in it that now they certainly wouldn't put with food, but you know, I love those potato sticks. And we never ate them, but we can still see the little, which it's no longer politically correct because it's considered racist, but they would have Flavos shrimp rolls, and they'd have the shrimp rolls with the little pointy hats on, and they'd dance around, and you got to come to the concession and get some Flavos shrimp rolls.
You can imagine that there were commercials at the drive-in theater. I mean, just like on television. It was a sign of things to come.
Yeah, they had to get you in there, so.
And you could go on the playground in the front, up by the screen during the commercial, during the intermission, They would show these little things, and you could go up there and you could play, and then they'd let you know a countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it was time you got to be back in your car because the movie was about to start.
And you had to have your goodies.
You had to have your goodies.
That's right. So then entertaining was pretty different with food too. It was a little simpler. Now, I don't know if y'all can go back to being that simple, but tell everybody about one of Mom and Dad's favorite appetizers for when they had company.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the favorite one, the easy one, the really a mom kind of an appetizer. I don't know where she read about it, but whatever it was, she
Magazine.
would take a Ritz cracker and put ketchup on each Ritz cracker, put them on a fancy tray, and put a little slice of onion, raw onion, on it. That was it.
Right?
Pop that whole thing in your mouth, munch it up. Took a while to get used to it, but you know what? They're not bad. If that's the only appetizer, you've got a choice, We would sneak out sometimes after their company went home, and they'd go to bed, and there'd be crumbles and stuff left all over the table. We'd have to go out and ferret around and see what we could find that was at all edible. And the crackers by then are a little soggy. It's interesting.
And one of the things they did that was really cool is always sat at the table and play cards and stuff like that. People didn't that much sit down to watch TV when they had company. They actually visited with their company and played cards and had a few drinks.
But most of the events that they had, they don't even know that they had television at the time when we were young.
Well, television came out. I was about 3 or 4. And because we used to watch...
That would make me like 7 or 8. And that's...
and that was... I'm not going to go there because we're going to do the TV thing one day and the kind of things we used to watch on TV, but not today.
Yeah, but they very rarely watched with company. People were more social. They were really more social. They enjoyed each other. They would visit, couples would visit
Connected.
couples. It's not like the girls would get together and the guys would get together. Not that they didn't, but they would do things socially with couples. And it was really very nice. It was, and sometimes...
And
they
I
bring
think
their
that
kids.
helped make couples stronger.
Yeah. Oh,
It kind of made it was a family
It was an
thing.
example of what you'd want to be when you're an adult. I mean, it was perfectly nice.
Right. Now, when Val said about separating the men and the women, they all sat around and did their thing. However, after they were playing cards a while, my mom and the girls would go in the kitchen and make coffee cake. Now, the coffee cake was
Gotta eat
a
it warm.
yeast dough, yes. And I believe my mom probably made the dough in advance. We were pretty young then, I'm not too sure. We were sent to our room, to our bunk beds, where, of course, guess who had the top bunk? Of course.
Me and my rabbit.
You and your rabbit. So anyway, they'd be out there and they'd be cooking and talking and laughing, and they would take this yeast dough that my mom would make in advance, and they would roll it out, into a square, and then brush it with butter.
Of course, melted.
Oh, yes. And then sprinkle it with some nuts, like chopped up walnuts, and sugar and cinnamon, and then roll it up and kind of roll it out so it'd be about this long. Then she'd curve it into almost a U, kind of like a croissant, and take a pair of scissors and go snip, 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 snip all around the circle and let it rise.
We should try that.
I'm ready. I'm salivating, I'll tell you. This wasn't a good idea on an empty stomach.
Try that.
So then after it came out of the oven and cooled just a tad bit, they would drizzle confectioner's icing on it. And, oh my God, we were in our bunk beds and we could smell it. So good. And if we were lucky, we got a little piece. And that was a great way to get the kids to get in bed and be quiet. If you're not quiet, there'll be none of that coffee cake for you.
Simple, but it was good. I mean, it was like, and that's the thing. You can go down to the grocery store and you can buy it in a tube and crack it open and peel it, pop it open, whatever, and put all the, is it Pillsbury who does that? And you can
Pop and fresh.
Yeah. And you can have just the dough and put the stuff on it, roll it up yourself. It was delicious and not hard. But people lose those recipes. It's a lot of that.
Yeah, and the recipes, of course,
Kinda
were
sad.
a lot less additive loaded. So, and they're not that hard. And one
He
day,
doesn't have ketchup and onions. So, between that and the coffee
ketchup,
cake,
onions, Ritz crackers, you can't go wrong. Well, the other thing, we remember it coming out was onion dip. I mean, everybody, Lipton's French onion dip. And in that time, you just use the soup mix. Now they've got soup mix and they've got onion dip mix. I mean, come on, just another way to get you.
your money.
Oh, I'll buy this for $1 and I'll buy that for $1, but it's probably $2.50 now. But everything was about sour cream and French onion dip and potato chips. That's
People
what
were
we
so
ate.
creative. They were just so clever how to make things that you might have around the house.
Yeah.
And make it into a treat.
Yeah, we weren't. I lost my. When we were little, there was no such thing as Doritos, Tostitos, or Fritos. That stuff did not exist.
No.
Mixes did not
State line potato
exist.
chips were the potato chip. I didn't think there was anything.
Well,
State line.
no, there was Wise.
Wise.
And
They
I
were
liked
too salty.
Wise better. They were greasier, which just wasn't good, but they burned them. I love burned potato chips.
State line.
Burned French fries, burned potato chips, burned popcorn. Oh yeah, it was good. But we also had, because it was, our parents came from a time that was even less convenient than ours. So now we got a lot of convenience foods, but we have a lot less quality food. Whereas back then you had less convenience, more quality. Also, you didn't waste so much. I remember my mother-in-law telling me she was a farm girl, and they did it all, and bless her heart, she was the only girl with 4 older brothers, 4 younger brothers, and her mom died when she was still relatively young. But she said that when they cooked, they would eat everything but the squeal that they use, the oxtail soup, and the beef tongue, and things that my dad liked that we could not tolerate, like head cheese and pickled
Until
pig's
us we're
feet.
spoiled,
Yeah, so...
Didn't work. We're both vegetarians now, and it's been a long time since we've had any meat.
Yeah, no, it's been a long time.
Long time.
I don't miss it a lot. There's a few things I miss, but a lot of
Just bacon
times
for a
we
while.
can... Yeah, well, we got fake bacon, so, I miss kielbasa because I loved... Well, you had the good ones. She's talking about the bad ones. She's talking about the bad kinds with big pieces of gristle. If you get the good ones, they're not little gristle. And you bite it and it's crispy. I don't want to go there because I don't eat meat anymore. But I do have field roast, makes very nice substitutes that work quite well. I'm just looking at our notes to see a little bit about drinks. What did we drink back then? Number one, as kids, we drank a lot of Kool-Aid.
Yes, we did.
And they didn't make it with the sugar in it. They made it just the mix, and you'd put in the sugar. So you could really determine how much sugar,
yeah.
Your kids were getting. So we loved the Kool-Aid. I hate to say it, but
Soda was a treat. If you were going to get a soda, it was a major treat.
yes.
One.
Yes. That's another thing. Going out to eat, that didn't happen very often, a birthday, a special occasion, stuff like that. But you didn't just go to a restaurant and there was no fast food, so.
But there was a good substitute for fast food. Places like, what is the hot dog place?
A&W? No, Nathan's?
No, the one that loves.
Capital Lunch?
Capital Lunch.
Oh, yeah.
Capital Lunch hot dogs. The original fast food, and they would have a line going out the door.
And they
for
still
people.
do.
And they basically sold hot dogs. You can get a burger there now, I guess, but that's not prime. But basically it was hot dogs. They'd have a sit-down counter. You got fed there, and there would be a line against the wall behind the sit-down seats of people waiting. They'd buy them in a box. You could get 10 or 12
They still
of
put
them
them in
a
the
box,
boxes, yeah.
and they're still doing that. That's absolutely a miracle that they're
They used
still
to
doing it.
cook the food in the window, so you'd see them rolling those. They'd be on rollers. Little hot dogs would be rolling around, and you think about the things you didn't eat when you were a kid that you eat now. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I actually ate the Capital Lunch hot dogs with sauce. And
God, that was delicious.
I've had mustard and sauce. Before that, I had mustard and relish, but once I learned about the mustard, onion, and sauce, that was pretty good, and then I quit. And that cannot be replicated. I had a friend who worked at Capital Lunch, and she was sworn to secrecy. She could not give that recipe to anyone. And
You were best friends, and she
were
never
best
gave it to
friends.
you.
No, she would not do that. There was a lot. I think there was a little bit more integrity back then.
There's a lot more
You know,
integrity.
people stuck
It matters.
to their
It
word.
matters what other people think about you. Your word mattered. You know, now it's like nobody gives their word for anything.
Yeah.
Why would they?
Well, they might give their word, but they change their mind.
That's
So, boy, we're running out of time. We got 6 minutes left. But I just want to talk a little bit about, oh my God, we were there. When we were kids, get this. Are you ready? Sit yourself down. There were no TV dinners. TV dinners came out in 1955.
Just in time.
And would you believe that TV dinners were for special?
Special occasion.
They were not for every day. Now, if you just think of the waste alone, you know, you have a TV dinner that it takes you, 6 minutes to eat, maybe, if you're eating slow? And so then you wind up with a tin tray, which is now probably a plastic tray, and a wooden box that it came in. And really, if you take all the food out of that little tray, you could probably hold it in one hand. You know?
It wasn't really great.
That's when the prices, convenience came in, prices went up, quality went down, and pollution.
But our parents kind of use it as bribery.
Oh,
You
yeah.
babysit, or you do some kind of other chore. Your treat was you get to have a TV dinner.
And you know how crazy that is? That getting less quality food was special.
It was the treat. You know, we should have suspected then that things were going down the tubes fast, because
We
anytime
should
they
have.
came up with something like that, things that you eat, things that you drink, it got cheaper, and people wanted it more.
Yeah. Well, and they over-sugar and over-salted, and both sugar and salt make you want more. Okay, like, you know those Lay's potato chip people? They know what they're saying when they said
yeah.
you can't eat just one. But I want to just quickly, we got 4 minutes left. Talk about what we drank. We drank the Kool-Aid, I already said. The adults drank more actual basic cocktails. And the big one was usually a highball, which is?
For us, it always was whiskey and ginger ale, or whiskey and club soda. Club soda wasn't so good. Ginger ale was better because it sweetened it up a little bit. You put a cherry in it, make it fancy.
A
Couple ice cubes.
Presbyterian was whiskey with half club soda or 7-Up and half ginger ale. And you would put a little twist of
Any kind of fruit. Orange,
lemon peel. And I would like to say, I was saving this for the history thing, but I'd like to share it now. I made a Presbyterian for former President Gerald Ford.
See that? Things that you would never know if you didn't watch this video.
Yep. So, oh God, and so they had the things, highballs, also things like martinis weren't that popular, but Rob Roy's, Dad liked Manhattans.
Whiskey sour.
She liked whiskey sours. I liked Tequila Sunrise, Harvey Wallbangers.
Oh, Harvey Wallbangers were great.
Haven't had one of
Big.
those. Oh yeah, icy with the Galliano floating on the top. It's salivating some more.
It's almost as good as kielbasa.
I think tonight I'll have some kielbasa and a Harvey Wallbanger. Too bad I don't drink that much and I don't eat meat. Well, this has been such fun. And the other thing, just shots and beers. If you're Polish, which we are, my mom always reminds me you're only half Polish, the other's German, Scotch, Irish. But shots and beers, and basically shots. And
Shots. And I remember my first one when they considered me old enough. I was probably 17, and it was time for me to have my shot. And what my grandmother would do, they'd give her a shot, and then she'd have a water on the side, or whatever her chaser was. She would never drink the chaser. She would take that shot, and she would, they'd have to push her first to do it. She kept saying, no, I don't want. So they give her the shot. Finally, she'd finally take it. She would make the most god-awful
her whole face became a pucker. Her whole thing, from the lips all the way out to her temples.
Then they pushed the chaser towards her, and she didn't want that. And I think that's where I learned how to drink shots, because I don't make the face, I don't think, because I kind of like, I kind of like it, but I wouldn't drink a shot like that anyway anymore. But no chasers. That
I didn't have a
lasts
shot
long time.
until I was over 40. And
Listen.
that was tequila. No more of that.
The
That song is right about tequila. Makes your clothes fall out.
The best thing about having the shot and chaser or shot and beer or whatever was when you were old enough and they were figured now you're an adult and they're going to let you join in on this thing. First thing that would happen is my grandfather would go into their bedroom, which was off of the kitchen, and he would pull a box out from under the bed, and he would take out a bottle of, well, whatever it was they were drinking, usually bourbon, and pour everybody the shot. And when they were all finished,
Yep.
you put the cap back on, put it back in the box, push it back under the bed.
Perfect. We will see you then.
So it was a whole ceremony, you know, getting the shot out and everybody having a shot and having to drink it. And of course, they watch you like a hawk when you have your first one. And I
Yeah.
don't think I entertained them very much.
I
kinda
didn't.
liked it.
I didn't, except when I was older and grown up and a bartender, and I worked at a country club, and I would work on holidays because I was alone in California. You know, I had Mimi there sometimes, but a lot of times it was just me. So I let them go with their families, and I'd bartend. And what we would do is we would have, before we got started, first thing in the morning, 1/2 hot coffee and 1/2 amaretto, and chug that down. And it went, it was very nice and warmed your chest, and in November, that's very good.
Amaretto's a special treat.
Didn't make a habit of it, though. So that phone call was letting me know a camper's coming in, so we're gonna have to go, and besides, we're over time anyway. We just love sharing. So we hope you like this video. There will be more coming. We are making notes, and so we still have to do more on toys and more on history. We got funny family stories, and we can go on and on.
You've got years and years worth of this.
Years
stuff.
and
It can
years.
entertain you for a very long time.
So we have to live for a very long time.
Oh boy.
So we got to eat some healthy food. Lay off the processed stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
it's good old stuff.
It's
We
good
got
old
lots of
stuff.
ideas.
And we got good recipes. Have a great day. God bless, and we hope we will see you real soon.